Hi guys, welcome to the game. I can see all of your inner nightmares, and frankly, they are just terrifying and some are a little bit disturbing, if I'm honest. But welcome to Point Horror Book Club. This month we're going to be chatting about the Forbidden Game, the first one, The Hunter, and which I'd never read before. Hi everyone. I'd never read this one before. It was a bit weird, I'm not going to lie, but I think I was pleasantly surprised by the end. So we've got a brilliant guest with us, my good friend. Hi Raj. I'm just going to move my cup because I've got a feeling I'm going to drop it. Hi Nikki. Right, I'm just going to see if Amy is here. So we've got a brilliant guest, which is my good friend Amy McCaw. Right, I've sent Amy an invite. Karen loves the Forbidden Game. Best point horror ever. Hopefully we'll have Amy with us, if I've done it right. Hi Amy.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Can you see and hear me
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Is that Lost Boys behind you?
okay? I've made a little impromptu setup. My husband is currently sorting my office upstairs and like putting up new bookshelves for me. So I've created a little office
Oh, we love some new bookshelves.
and I do it.
Oh no, brilliant! Thanks for joining us, Amy. Oh, so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to talk about this book. I've been waiting
Oh, I
for
know.
months.
Oh, I can't wait to chat. I can't wait to chat. So I'll just introduce you. So if you don't know, I feel like my head's cut off tonight on the chat. Just 1 second. Not very organised today. There, that's better. So if you don't know Amy is a YA writer and blogger. She's author of the fantastic Mina and the Undead, which is a YA murder mystery set in 1995 New Orleans. And I've just finished a reread of this one, ready for Mina and the Slayers to come out, which comes out next week, doesn't it, Amy?
Yes, 1st of September.
1st of September, yay! So yeah, sequel's coming out. It's so good. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you. But no, it's really, really good. So Amy's main interests are books, movies, and the macabre. And her novels have elements of all of these. If Amy's not at a book event or reading, she can usually be found scribbling away in her writing room, surrounded by all that fantastic movie memorabilia that you've got, Amy. If you haven't seen it, check it out because it's amazing. And you've got lots and lots of signed books as well. And you're a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. And you've gone to many conventions and met James Masters more times than you care to admit.
Yeah, I'd say at least 6, probably.
Wow, 6! I
Yeah,
didn't realise it was that many.
I do really like it. And he lives up to all your expectations. He's just in person, although he is American, which confused me the first time I met him. But
Yeah, cool.
he's everything we'd want him to be. Um,
Oh.
like he's one of my favourite characters too.
Oh no, he's so brilliant as Spike in Buffy, definitely. And you're a long time Point Horror fan, aren't you, Amy? Like we met kind of like through Point Horror.
Yeah,
So thank you, Point Horror.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think it was back on the blog when you used to do the written tab. I remember.
yeah,
You
yeah. It's a few years ago now. That was. And I know we've spoken before about when we did the cheerleader chat. But the Forbidden Game actually gets a mention in Mina and the Slayers.
it
And I
does.
wondered if it has always been a favourite of yours, and that's why you mentioned it in there.
Yeah, it's my automatic answer when people say, "What is your favourite point horror?" I just automatically say that, and I don't know whether it's still true or whether it's been that way for so long I've not changed my mind or questioned it. But I do just remember when I was 11 or 12, probably when I read it for the first time, maybe even 10 or 11. It was at that point where I was just discovering boys. Like I discovered Leonardo DiCaprio, and then it was Julian, and I think it was just because obviously Twilight didn't exist then, and it kind of existed
Mm,
in Twilight space of this kind of compelling forbidden person. I think that was my first encounter of that kind of forbidden love thing, and I was just hooked on it. And I know it's very weird, but it was, you know, I think I loved the weird stuff, but it was that central relationship, I think, that as a really young person I found really interesting, and then as an adult I kind of find interesting, but in different ways, which we'll do as we go.
And Karen's put high fives way under my skin for excellent taste in point horror books. Oh yeah, thanks, Kat. I love your nails. I did them blue especially for Julian.
Yeah, it's the eyes, isn't it? She goes on.
So we'll get into the book then. But I do love how you put the Forbidden Game in Mina and the Slayers. It's just like a slight mention, but I was like, yay! When I read it. Brilliant.
The first book in all the pop culture references. I was like, how did I miss point horror? So I had to put in there in the second one. Oh yeah, it's like popping snakeskin pants, cat. You know, it's so appealing to 11-year-old me, that description, obviously.
Oh, definitely. Oh, bless our Julian. But there'll be spoilers ahead, just to warn, for the Forbidden Game. Lots of spoilers, probably from the offset.
Yeah.
And if anyone's got any comments, pop them up, and we'll try and read them out, or, you know, try and join in a little bit. So I'll just do a brief description about the book. I tried to summarise it as best as I could.
Yeah.
Bear with me. It was hard. But I did start with grab all of your blue and stripy clothing, put on that acid house music, and make those lashes and bangs spiky, because there was lots of spiky lashes.
Fringes. Like, I was trying to picture that. Like, who had a spiky fringe in the 90s? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I don't know. It was really weird. And like spiky lashes.
Or, oh, it was, oh, so cyberpunk. Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
my head as well. So maybe it was that. It wasn't obviously cyberpunk. I think it was more in the 90s.
I think I probably had like a block fringe.
Oh yeah, I did a really big blow dried one.
Yeah, and like little, like tried to do like little bangs, as they say, down the side. Is that what they say? Or bangs the fringe?
Lydia from Beetlejuice fringe. Yeah, I can imagine that actually. I was thinking more maybe spikes in that direction. Yeah, that makes more sense, Cap, than what I thought.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense, definitely. Hi, Emma. Oh, no problem, Emma. No worries. So, yes, there was lots of spiky eyelashes, but it's time to jump into the Forbidden Game. So all poor Jenny wanted to do was buy a nice little game and throw a 17th birthday party for her boyfriend. And she ends up with a game that pierces the veil between the worlds and getting her and her friends sucked into a paper Victorian house, which apparently looks like the Haunted Mansion, with black carpets that look like something out of a horror movie. It sounded terrifying. And basically it takes everyone's inner thoughts and makes them reality. So what pursues is like a cat and mouse game. So get hurt in the dream, and then get her hurt for realsies. So all Jenny's friends are upstairs, scattered around this house, waiting to face their nightmares and waiting for Jenny to save them. So if Jenny gets to the top of the house before dawn, she wins, and they can leave, apparently. If she has, or if not, she has to stay with Julian forever. So there's like riddles and a good mixture of like fantasy and horror in this book. Or maybe it's just Audrey's, is it shiitake mushrooms that was mentioned?
Not so much. I was like, do they think they're magic mushrooms or something?
I think they did. Oh dear. And did I mention Julian, the mysterious boy who is totally in love with Jenny and doesn't want her to leave at any cost? Dun dun dun. So that was kind of my little summary.
Yeah, it was good. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think I managed it. So the opening of the book kind of reminded me a little bit of the Never-Ending Story. With obviously the bullies chasing Jenny in this instance, and then that she finds the game shop entitled More Games, which was quite original, which kind of appears out of nowhere. So what did you think of the opening scenes? Do you think it set the scene quite well?
Yeah, I did. I think in a lot of ways this doesn't read like a point horror book. I know that some point horrors were kind of repurposed over the years, weren't they? And I do wonder about it because a lot of them have that similar structure of it starts with the gentle scares or the fake scares, and then the real murdery things start. This just feels like you said, it feels more like a movie to me. And I liked the fact that by the time the kind of the thrills and chills sort of started, that you really knew who the characters were and you were kind of really grounded in the world and you knew it was the 90s. Some of like we've discussed how some of the references didn't necessarily age well in the way characters are but I just think L.J. Smith did a really good job of it, and it's quite impressive how well, in some ways, the book has aged. Like it feels, with a few details changed, that it could be quite modern. Yeah, and that scene in the Moor Game Shop is one of my favourite scenes still, because I just think that first encounter with Julian is so iconic, and it almost is movie to me actually, like kind of a labyrinth sort of feel and that kind of thing as well. And like you said, is Neverending Story 80s?
I think it was, I want to say 84, 85.
Yeah, and to me it has that feel as well. I think like the kind of very cinematic. I think the writing. How about you? Did you like that?
Yeah, I really like the opening because obviously this was a first read for me, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. All I expected, because everyone was like, "Oh, Julian," so I was expecting like a gorgeous boy. So yeah, but as soon as I read that scene with her running down the road in like this downtown area, I just straight away just went to Neverending Story, and I thought, okay, this is going to be quite interesting. We'll see which other references we can pick up along the way. But I just saw somebody put, who was it? So Speedway Chick put Jumanji and It vibes.
Yeah, definitely it. I was thinking that about the group of kids and the way plays on your fears as well. I think feels very it. I don't know if that's conscious or subconscious, but maybe that's what I loved as well, because it was probably one of the first horror movies and horror novels that I read, like adult ones certainly.
Yeah, me too. Definitely it. I definitely read that. Karen's put all of L.J. Smith's writing feels like a movie because obviously she wrote the Vampire Diaries and Secret Circle. So now I need a Forbidden Game movie or show. But apparently in January 2022, so January this year, there was an article that went up saying they're still thinking of making this movie. So fingers crossed. It would be so good.
I think
Can you imagine?
Vampire Diaries, although it's quite different from the books, I haven't read all of the books, but I got to a point where I was like, yeah, the TV series and the books have just gone completely different ways. But I loved them both. I thought that, again, she did a really good job with the books, and I think the show adaptation was great. So hopefully somebody will grab the Forbidden Game and do the same.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed. I do hope it. I'd love just to see a couple of point horror on the screen. Although obviously this wasn't written for point horror. It's obviously branded as point horror, but still it's the same thing.
Parents took off again. I agree. It's funny, isn't it? I don't remember any point horror where the parents like, do you know what? I'm going to stay and just make sure you're okay. Teenagers who might care, you know.
Yeah. So as long as like I think there was a reference that the mum did show up and they went, didn't they? But it was like, yeah, make sure you don't trash the house. Spent a lot of money on it.
That was quite weird, the description of the house actually at the beginning. I had no idea what she was talking about, all the rugs and the baskets and stuff. I was like, I'm sure impressed by this, but it was a bit lost on me.
Yeah, I think there was some reference to there was a designer who had made sure that the front room was like perfectly decorated to taste or something like that. But I took it that it was to give it like that. There was a real emphasis on that this was a rich family.
Yeah, in general, that all of the characters were described a bit in that way, and I never it came off. I thought not in the greatest way. That it's like, oh, their clothes are a bit shabby, their clothes are quite expensive. It was a bit weird. Maybe that's an early '90s thing as well. That we'd be, I think, a modern author would be a bit more mindful of that.
Yeah, there was a very. It's like when she's finding the game. It's like it's downtown. And like, you know, in the rough part and stuff, it was really quite emphasised, and I was a bit like, oh, not sure, but I presumed it was for a reason, so I just went with it a little bit.
Usually it's point horror books, or it could just be like a sign of the times, you know, that it's not aged that well.
No, definitely. 80 and 90s book arts put so April, she's put Freeform has the rights to Forbidden Game apparently.
I feel like I know Freeform. Did they do One of Us is Lying or something like that? They've done quite a lot of teen stuff.
Oh, have they?
I'm not
Oh.
about. I feel like they've done some of the big. Oh, it was them that did Shadowhunters though, so maybe I don't know whether you've watched Shadowhunters, Shell, but I
I
did.
tried.
And I sort of enjoyed it for what it was, but it isn't the greatest adaptation, I wouldn't say.
I tried. I think I watched a couple and then I was like, not sure. Nikki's put it would be really interesting to see it on the screen and a more modern and up-to-date feel. And to become a mum's put, I thought this was really well written with less plot holes or what the fuck moments. Perhaps because the scenario was more surreal. So yeah, I think it does do well with the mixture of the fantasy and the horror, I think. And I think that's how it gets away with it a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it works well, doesn't it, as well? It kind of gives it a sequence that you know what you're expecting, that she's working through this kind of predetermined route that she'll go through each person's nightmares. And I think that's like a movie as well, that you could almost see this plot unfolding. Plus, it took it in some ways that we didn't expect.
It did definitely. Would you have played the game? If you got this game, Amy, would you have played it?
Can I just apologise to Karen? She said Chapter was fab. I did enjoy it. I just feel that, and I thought like Magnus and Alec were amazing actually in it, but I just thought some of the effects and some of the plot choices let them down. But anyway, yeah, I would have played the game because I love that kind of thing. I mean, Shell, you know that we bought the Jumanji game, me and my husband, even though it was a children's game and we didn't understand between me, Shelley, and the two cats.
Yeah, we tried.
Would have played the game. If you told me what would have happened, I wouldn't have played the game, even for Julian, because I don't think I would have been very brave facing up to my nightmares. I think that they would have got me in the end. So yeah, I think if it was just a game on face value, I would have done. How about you? Would that?
Oh hell no! No way! As soon as like all the creepy stuff happened, because I loved all the bits about, you know, when they were reading the cards out, and then it was like happening, so they could hear the footsteps and things like that. As soon as that happened, no, I'm out. I'm a wimp, you know.
That might have made me like red flag moment, but I think until the creepy things happened, I was like really with it. You know, like Dee was all like, "Oh, this is great, this is great." That would have been me right up until the creepy stuff, and then I'd have turned into like the opposite of Dee.
Yeah. And like inside the covers, just put the game made her think of the old Ghost Castle game. I loved that game when I was younger. That's what me and my brother played quite a lot. And also the little vampire. There was a game with a vampire, and it had like a vampire that you used to stamp the hands on, but I can't remember. I presume it was called Little Vampire or something like that, or Vampire Castle. Oh, I don't know.
Sounds good.
But yeah, I would love to find it. But Ghost Castle was really, really good. I'd love to get that again.
Inside the cover is saying they re-released it, so I might have to check it out.
Yeah, because Marzi Pamponi put some pictures up with the Ghost Castle game the other day. Honestly, I'm gonna have to get it. It's like a childhood favourite. Yeah, inside the cover said the stamp was in the hat and Bucky's shelf, but I remember the vampire game. Yes, I didn't imagine it.
One of your point horror like fantasies.
I'll have to find it. Oh dear. It was funny because my brother used to run around. He used to pinch the vampire out of the game, and he used to run around like just attacking us with the stamp everywhere, like. But yeah. I just saw Emma has asked, what are your nightmares? So what are your nightmares, Amy?
I don't know whether it's because I read and write so much horror, but I have really vivid nightmares. Not that often, luckily, but I wake up like dripping with sweat, and quite often they're sort of pursuit nightmares. So I'm either being pursued by a serial killer, quite often zombies, really disgusting zombies, and once dinosaurs, like giant kind of city-destroying dinosaurs were pursuing me and my family, and I had to get away. So I think literal nightmares are generally those, like I'm running for my life. How about you? Do you ever remember?
Oh my gosh!
No.
That sounds terrifying.
Do you ever have or remember your nightmares?
Um, Sometimes, like, I have really weird nightmares because I do sleep talk quite a lot. So my poor husband, like, once I thought there was a snake in the bed. I know that sounds rude. I don't mean it to sound rude, but
I also
once I thought,
there's a snake in my boots.
well, I thought there was a snake in the bed. So I literally woke up, pinned Kevin's, that's my husband, pinned his arm down on the bed, and I was going, "Die, snake, die!" So like, and snakes are actually one of my phobias from when I was younger, and one went over my legs while I was standing on a step when I was little. But yeah, so I have like really strange like things that I imagine are there. So weird. But I think one of my other phobias, I hate like anything that flies around my face or like moths or bats and things like that. So the scene in this in the Forbidden Game with the messy room
Oh
with
yeah,
the moths. Oh no, that was really scary. Like, because I don't like stuff like that at all.
yeah, bad with that. But for me, in real life, I'm not great with injections and needles. So the
Mm.
DC, out of all of their nightmares, the D one was the worst for me. Not only the not being able to move, I find terrifying, but just the needle descending towards her. That was the bit
Oh,
reading it from being younger and being like absolutely traumatized by that, like absolutely having
oh,
nightmares. Yeah, that's
mm. Yeah. Oh, I don't know whether you're just breaking up slightly
feel like
there. Are you there, Amy? Oh, Amy, are you there? I can still see Amy, but we just can't hear Amy.
to mine, and I
Are you back?
don't normally have nightmares about it. Weirdly, yeah. If I do see people, I start to feel a bit.
I can hear you now, yeah. I think. Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Oh, you're going round in a little circle at the moment. Oh no, that's not lost Amy.
Can you hear me? Okay, you've just
Oh, I think you're back.
okay. Yeah, I
I
can hear
think you're
you as well. We had
back.
a little bit of internet.
Yeah, you're back.
You sort of were whirring for a second, and I couldn't see you, but yeah, it seems okay now. Hopefully.
I'm always whirring. I'm always whirring. Um, so let's talk about Jenny just briefly. What did you? I quite liked Jenny as a main character. I did think she was quite loyal to her friends, and things like that. What did you think of Jenny as a main character?
I do overall really like her. There's just one really thing about her, one thing about her really annoyed me, and that is her relationship with her boyfriend. I just fact that she,
Tom.
oh, Tom likes swafty sleeves. Tom likes hair up, so I will wear my hair up. And I
Mm,
didn't like that, and I think that maybe that was quite deliberate so that she would have some character growth by the end of the book, because I think as the book goes on, she becomes more independent and although she's pretty brave all the way through, like even with the boys at the beginning when they're chasing her, she kind of she doesn't just sort of fall, does she? She goes into the shop and she seems like she has agency.
mm, no, definitely,
But yeah, the Tom thing
Tom
was
was
the
just
only part of her a little bit, because I know about the
yeah,
character.
Tom.
Yeah, he annoyed me.
Yeah, Tom for me was like I hated him. I absolutely hated Tom. He was just like ugh, didn't like him at all. Didn't like how he treated Jenny, and but then Jenny didn't help herself sometimes, and oh yeah. But
I in general, the characters are a bit of a weird mixture, aren't they? Like I think all of them, they're quite well rounded, really. They all had things I liked about them, and all had things that I found super irritating.
no, definitely, yeah. Oh,
Um,
Amy, I'm not sure whether we keep losing you
like
slightly.
Audrey, I found she just was a bit. I don't know. Oh no! I see
Oh,
you're breaking
okay.
up a
I'll
lot, but
just
it's
go
okay.
with
I
it.
don't.
Yeah, mine's saying it's okay. Or just it's one of them Instagram glitches. As long as everyone can see and hear us, that's no problem. Sorry, what were you saying, Amy?
I was just saying about all the characters. It's quite interesting how they all were quite multifaceted and had things that annoyed me about them and things that I liked. And like I think like Audrey, her characteristics quite exaggerated. Like she was so well travelled, and she dropped strange bits of other languages into her speech, which grated on me a little bit. Like she's talking, completely normally, and then she's something like, "Oh, ciao," and it just seemed a bit like, I don't know, like a bit affected.
No, yeah, but I thought for the time, for the 90s when this was written, the characters were quite diverse for the time as well, which is
Right.
quite refreshing for a point horror. We don't
Yeah.
normally get like that wide range of characters.
Yeah, to become mum's but did anybody notice how much they referenced Dee's dark skin? Yeah, Shell and I both mentioned that, and the fact that she was always described as an African princess or an Egyptian princess, well, which felt a little bit too much in that direction. I don't know whether she was trying, because she'd included a character from a different racial background, maybe she was then trying to remind us and remind us, and it just went overboard. But she's a great character. Saying that was the one kind of thing that didn't sit very well with me, and maybe it's how it hasn't aged as well, because I think a modern editor would have probably pulled her up on that, and there would have been sensitivity reads and things that just wouldn't have happened in the 90s.
No, it was referenced quite a lot because, as I say, as you said, we did mention it when we were chatting about it. Who was your favourite character? Was it Dee?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was trying to remember who I used to like when I was a teenager, and all I can remember is Julian. But an adult, I definitely appreciated Dee the most. I think that she didn't have the grating qualities that the other ones did to me, and she was very fiercely protective of her friends, and she had actual skills that were useful in the game, which I wouldn't have brought anything to the table except maybe like a bit of intelligence. But like it's just really like go-getting and strong, and even though and I liked the fact that she did have the nightmare, and it did scare her because it showed like the different elements of her personality. How about you? Did you have a favorite character?
I think Dee was my favourite, definitely. I just liked everything about her. She just got things done, and I think I actually liked her more than Jenny. In the end, yeah, definitely my favourite. Bookish Shelf put, I low-key wanted her, I presume Jenny, to get off with Julian. When I first read it as a teenager, Tom can go walk. Yeah, Tom can go walk.
It's interesting because I do, as a teenager, I definitely was like, yeah, she should just stay there and be Julian's, like, he will take her anywhere and let her do anything. And I think when I was a teenager, that was just so appealing, the idea that you could just drop your whole life. But when you're adult and you have this established life, you kind of think, no, I just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't stay with Tom, certainly, but you wouldn't go on Julian if they were. You might think about it, but you
no, definitely. To become a mum's put, this was the setup to make us want the really bad guy and not the wholesome one. So it's like Dexter, we want the bad guy to win in a funny kind of way. Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah.
I think that about Dexter.
Yeah. Oh, not sure if I've lost you. I don't know whether it's my connection,
Became the serial killer that they were looking for at times, and you were like, come on, don't catch him. I think that's really exciting, isn't
it? Yeah, I lost you a little bit, but hopefully it's just like what we can see. Hopefully.
I mean, but with me trying to phones, I don't know whether the problem's on my end or your end. Is it my end? My husband's saying he thinks it might be mine that's the problem. Do you want me to just pop onto a different phone and see if that helps?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, no problem. I'll just ramble for a little bit.
Try a different phone.
All right. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
All right. Right. Right, I'll read some comments out while Amy's just swapping over. So April, 80s, 90s book arts put, I love Dee. I absolutely love Dee as well. She was definitely the best character. Karen, I was easily swayed by his cool hair and that he seemed fairly accomplished running a magic game shop and a shadow world. It was the magic game shop that did it, to be quite honest. Marzipan Pony, the Teen Creeps podcast does an episode on this, and they talk a lot about LJ Smith and how she refers to Dee. Okay, I'm going to check that out, actually. To become a mum, the side characters were far more developed than some. We often only know than from the colour of their hair. Yeah, that's true. So in a lot of point horror, we normally get these like descriptions about their hair colour or some facial feature or something, just so that we remember them that way. Nikki's put, Dee reminded me a little of Buffy with her fighting stances. Yes, didn't get that reference, but now I think about it, definitely. Summer and Michael were the least developed, I feel. Yeah, definitely. Michael was obviously the joker of the group. So probably the kind of, as a teen, the kind of boy that I would go for is always the joker. And then Summer, oh, poor Summer. Can't say I knew that much about Summer, so I think you're right there. But oh, poor Summer, bless her, and a little dirty, messy room. Speedway Chicks asked, does the second book in the trilogy carry on the story? Well, I haven't actually read the second book, but it does have Jenny. So this is the second one, Chase. So it does have Jenny in it, and it does say Julian's back. So I'm guessing it does. And then obviously the third one is the kill, and he's got like little sharp teeth on there. So I'm really intrigued. I think Amy's back. Let me just add Amy in. Right, hopefully. Hiya!
Yeah, I'm back. Hopefully it'll be better this time. I've tried a different phone and I'm on 4G now. So if it's my internet, hopefully we should be all right.
Oh, no worries. I filled the gap rambling. Someone just, I think it was Speedway Chick, just asked, have you read any of the other books in the series?
Yeah. Yeah, so, a long time ago. I think what I normally end up doing is rereading book one and then getting distracted and forgetting to read the other two. So I've read book one a lot and I've read the other two like a couple of times. Yeah, I saw her question and they do continue. I think they continue immediately. The second book certainly does continue immediately after book one.
Yeah.
Kind of dealing with the aftermath of how the book ends, because obviously they've told the police all this stuff like, yes, our friend went into a board game with us and died. And so they're dealing with the aftermath of telling people that and people not believing them.
Yeah, because like it did make me question, like, how are they going to explain about Summer dying? So spoiler alert if you haven't read the first one, but Summer obviously dies. How are they going to explain that? It's like not very easy to explain.
It was quite naive of Jenny, and she did acknowledge that, I think, at the beginning of book two. She's like, let's just tell the truth and it'll be fine. They'll believe us. I think that if they'd talked that through, they'd have been like, actually, we probably should have come up with a story. I don't know what the story would have been. I think maybe saying that Summer had left and disappeared, but I think that they didn't want her family to think that maybe she could come back when they knew that she wouldn't. It was really sad. I think all the characters... L.J. Smith was very clever with that. She made Summer this kind of really gentle person who wouldn't hurt anyone. And they all wanted to protect, and then she killed her off. I was like, that's brutal.
But do you know what it was? Were you shocked, or if you remember the first time you read it, were you shocked about that it was Summer who she killed off?
I think as a younger person, particularly really shocked, because I hadn't watched that many horror movies probably when I read it, but I think now I expect the really unlikable character to be killed off. So reading it as an adult, you're like, oh, Tom's going to get it on page 5 or something.
Yeah.
But no, he goes the distance, then the kind of sweet, naive, lovely one. I think it was quite a bold choice, actually, to kind of say anybody could get it in this book.
Yeah. And it's like Marzipan Ponies put, poor Summer, they underestimate her because she's so small. Oh, bless.
And they kept talking about her dandelion fluff hair and stuff. Some of this made me laugh a little bit. I just imagine this like little halo of golden hair. Yeah.
And Emma, I've seen Emma a few times saying his eyes were blue, 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 because it was so emphasised every time Julian appeared. It was like how blue his eyes were.
Yeah, just in case you forget they are blue.
Just in case.
Very blue.
Yeah. Just in case. And Overdue notices, but will you cover the next two in a future live? So yeah, I'll definitely will be doing the next two for sure. So hopefully maybe we can get Amy back on.
Oh yeah, let's do it
in the future. Because it'd be nice to like carry on the trilogy, because I'm really like into it now.
How we got you finally.
Yeah, got me. You got
You
me.
weren't sure, were you, at some points?
No, because I did message Amy a few times. I think I might have messaged Karen as well, just saying, this is so weird. It's like, it was when the aliens came and then like the whole thing with the woods and like stuff. And I was thinking, I don't get it.
Yeah, the woods lost me a little bit this time as an adult. I thought the pacing in that bit went a little bit uneven, and I was like, oh, have I misremembered this book? Like, it's lost me a little bit. But yeah, as
Yeah,
soon as Julian was back in it, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember why I liked this. And I thought it was
yeah.
interesting that that was the character, like the Errol King, however you say that, in the woods.
Hill King, yeah.
That he seemed to identify with that role the most and like claimed that he actually was that. I thought that was interesting, that maybe
No,
that was the role he'd kind of taken in the human world. Yeah, that's
yeah.
quite cool.
No, definitely. And Nikki said the elves as well. It was just at that point. I will admit, it lost me a little bit because obviously you've had all this build up the game, then getting sucked in and stuff, and then got to the aliens bit and the elves bit, and I was like, I don't really know where this is going to go. but then after that, I think it was the messy room and then the plants, which was poor Michael's nightmare.
Yeah, that was
That
pretty grim, actually. I think all of the
yeah.
descriptions, she felt like she really didn't pull any punches. I think a lot of the point horror authors, like R.L. Stein, he's like, yeah, blood, 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 gore, gore, gore. But this was quite kind of visceral body horror, some of it, wasn't it? I was like, God,
Oh
this is
yeah.
more like you'd find in an adult book, a lot of it.
It reminded me, the plants scene reminded me of the ruins. Have you read that?
No, I remember you telling me about it, and you had was that the one you had quite mixed feelings about?
Yeah, like a lot of people like the ruins, but I just struggled a little bit with it. But when it was gory, gory horror. But I just found for me, I felt there was a lot of filler content in it.
I haven't
But
got
then,
books like that anymore. Like, I think my
yeah,
reading time has to be so protected between like toddler and job and
yeah,
writing that if I'm bored by a book now, that's just it.
yeah,
I can't.
I did stick with it and I did finish it. And then, funny enough, I then watched the film of the
Mm.
ruins, and they did change a lot of things in the film to the book, like completely changed it. Like some of the characters, I believe, they changed the ending as well. So the book ending is different to the
Okay.
film ending. So whether they were trying to fix some of the bits and pieces, I'm not sure. But yeah, but there was a lot of the Michael's nightmare reminded me a lot of the ruins
Mm.
and some of the things that happened with the plants in there, or the vines, I think they're called. Um, so I just saw to become a mum's put, which nightmare from the book would be your worst nightmare? What
D's
do
for
you?
me, definitely. Then being absolutely helpless, pinned on a table and unable to move, and the needles, like the combination of those two things, losing your bodily autonomy and then losing, and then
Oh
the needle coming
yeah.
towards me, I think is just absolutely hellish. How about you? Which would be that? Was it the bedroom?
I think the bedroom, but not so much obviously the mess. If you saw like the mess around
Yeah, no,
me,
I'm just thinking that mess is, mess is fine.
like books everywhere, but not so much the mess, but yeah, definitely like the bugs, and definitely those like moths, those bat like moths that were hanging from the ceiling. I think that would be my worst nightmare. Oh, it gives me the shivers just thinking
I think it
about
was the
it.
picking stuff up for me as well, like when they're moving stuff out the way and it's like, oh, maggots, like that kind of, I've been there with that thing of like going to feed my cat and discovering like my next door neighbor's cat was
Oh
once looking after it and then there's
yeah.
full of maggots and I was like, oh, so that I think
Oh
remembering any of those kinds of things but like amplified in the book, I think she did that really well, like taking
mm,
that we're scared of and just like amping them up. Like it's not just
yeah.
needles, it's a giant alien needle coming towards you.
Oh, can you imagine? But D, when in that room scene, D, good old D, there's like a squashed rat or mouse or something, isn't there? Decaying, and she like scrapes it up with a 1991 calendar or 1992 calendar. I was like, yeah,
And I think even in her own nightmare, Dee had that moment of absolute panic. But then, like, her and Jenny fairly quickly start working together to get out of it. Whereas some of the nightmares, like Jenny's own nightmare, they just had to get through it, didn't they? Like as kind of passive
Yeah.
participants. But Dee, I felt like she fought her way through hers.
Yeah, no, definitely. Karen's put with the plants, I'd just embraced it and become a swamp thing.
I like that. Yeah, why not?
I
Escape that the trappings of the
like
modern world and just go full on swamp thing. I think
that.
quite cool actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. To become a mum's put, yeah, totally different things we are fearful of as opposed to the obvious things. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird and it's how the mind works as well, isn't it? And things like that. And yeah. Oh, but moths, no. Ooh. Karen, I'd have bagged up a bunch of the gross stuff from the room and thrown it at Julian. And I also think that messy room had a really good link to. Obviously, the book's got labyrinth vibes. Like I kept imagining Julian as David Bowie,
Yeah.
like constant. But that whole messy room scene reminded me of the labyrinth scene with the trash lady or garbage lady.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think
know
the whole
what scene I
book,
mean?
yeah, the whole book, to be honest, there were like key moments like that just seemed like an exact moment from it. And then the whole overarching premise of this kind of virtuous every
Mm,
girl going into this world to save a loved one, it felt like the whole plot structure. I always just thought of it as a labyrinth retelling. I don't know whether that was intentional.
yeah, it definitely had full labyrinth
Yeah.
vibes. I think Narissa at the point on Pike Street said, "Oh, definitely you'll love it because you love labyrinths." To me before I started reading it. Nikki has just put the cousin's kiss was strange, so we
Yes.
need to talk about the cousin's kiss. I think.
100%. I can remember as a child being like, "What? No, sorry, what? I don't understand." And then as an adult, a lot of it I think I saw differently as an adult, but that I still had the same reaction, like, "What are they trying to achieve here?" Like,
Yeah,
and then casually they just add in, "Oh, actually, Zach does fancy Jenny." Like, anyway, and I was like,
but
"Okay,
they
that's
could have
fine."
done. They could have used Michael for that.
Yeah,
Like,
it just seemed
why
like a
use
bit.
that?
And then for him to actually still actually have those feelings that it wasn't just Julian,
Yeah,
yeah, I thought that whole thing was really quite unnecessary.
it
Um,
was just bizarre.
yeah, Zach
Like
as a
that whole thing.
character, what did you think of Zach? Because something about him slightly jars with me, and I couldn't work out whether it's because
Yeah,
he's aloof, you don't feel much for him. It almost seemed like he was pushing the reader away as he was pushing the other characters away.
yeah, because it was a bit weird. Because as soon as they get sucked into the game, he kind of goes in this daze, doesn't
Mm,
he? And they're not quite sure. There's reference to that he's not himself, or he seems like glazed over. And I presumed it was because straight away he kind of went into his mind, which is obviously the nightmare that he has of going
yes,
crazy.
yeah,
So I presumed it was just to reference that, but
I think so.
I'm not sure about Zach.
No, and I think that scene didn't really help him at all because, like you said, if that had been with a different character, and then we'd had the reveal that Zach had been aloof because of what happened to his grandfather, I think that would have been
Mm,
okay. But the whole kissing scene did throw in this whole other really
yeah.
uncomfortable, unnecessary
Oh,
moment. Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so weird.
Marzipan pony, I agree. I don't think that, and yeah, if it had been Julian trying to mess with Jenny, for them to say yes, he is in love with her as well, it just seemed.
Mm, yeah, Cat's just put Zach didn't do much else aside from the casual incest.
No, no.
He didn't really do much, did he? Bless him. It's
Do you think
probably
that was the whole? That was just what she was trying to achieve? I'm just going to keep this character for the incest.
I don't know. I'm not. Obviously, there was the link to the past because he
Yeah.
kind of obviously knew about the grandfather,
Yeah.
who I presume over time it was just that the grandfather had gone mad. Is the story that they was told, gone a bit crazy. So he had this fear that it ran in the
Yeah.
family. But other than that, unless it gets explored in other books, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember much about him except that from reading that bit as a child. I'm going to read the second book, I think, because I'm now quite keen after reading.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
let you know if my feelings
yeah,
like
yeah.
change.
I'm definitely gonna read them. Overdue notices put. I thought Tom's nightmare was Jenny catching him cheating on her with Audrey. Yes, I messaged Amy right at the beginning when I was reading. I was like, Audrey and Tom are definitely like having a fling or something. Definitely like having an affair behind Jenny's back.
It was a bit strange, Audrey and Michael's relationship as well. Like, what did she say about him? That he was just like a seat warmer. That she
Just a
was just like,
seat warmer.
yeah, just waiting for
Yeah.
somebody better to come along.
Like a bookmark.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, that's cool. I'm okay with just being the next disposable boyfriend. Yeah, again, I found that a bit strange.
Yeah.
Doesn't
There was
endear me to.
definitely a moment between Audrey and Tom in the kitchen before they get sucked into the game. And I thought, hang on a sec, that's a bit weird.
Maybe they come
So,
back to that in the other books. I do wonder some of it might be stuff that's seeded later on.
yeah, possible. Karen's put Zach was a total introvert. The house just amplified his ultra quietness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she gave us a range of characters. She really did. They were all different.
And I
So
think
maybe that was the
yeah,
case.
introverted characters are interesting, and that I don't think you haven't read Gallant yet, have you? By V. Schwab.
No.
In that character, the main character isn't able to speak, and I think that as a writer, if you can take somebody who doesn't give you a lot in terms of dialogue and make them a really multifaceted character, I think that's amazing. And I think maybe that's where Zach, we couldn't get to know him as much just because we didn't get as much of him on the page apart from the really weird stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Marzi Pamponi put, was it to show how beautiful and perfect Jenny is? Even her cousin can't resist her because she didn't believe in herself.
And like by the end, it's like Jenny was beautiful before, but now she's even more beautiful after the game. You're like, okay, Jenny, like you already had it all, and now you have like the all times 1,000.
Yeah.
Gallant is awesome. Agree.
Emma's put Gallant is awesome.
Yeah.
I need to read that, definitely. Karen's put, I wondered if it was just Julian's thoughts of kissing Jenny as they would see other people's fears and thoughts, and maybe Julian was afraid Jenny would like someone more like her cousin than him. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I like that about this book, that you can take away from it lots of different. You can kind of, if you fixed on a character that you're really interested in, there's lots of justifications. Like say Audrey, I didn't particularly relate to her, but I bet there are people that read it and was like, oh, I can understand what it's like to move around all the time and how it might make you a bit kind of fragmented and a bit comes across as a bit abrasive sometimes. And because I didn't relate to that, I don't think I felt sympathetic. But I like the fact that, like you said, there's lots of people to kind of, you know,
there's like a character for everyone.
Yeah, I think so. And point horror isn't often like that, is it? There's kind of a few stereotypes thrown in there and then not a lot else to go with.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I was quite pleasantly surprised. I was pleased about that, to be honest. So did you, obviously you'd read this book before, everyone told me, Julian, oh, Julian. Did your opinion of Julian change, do you think, from when you first read it as a teen to now? Or did you still think, oh, hot?
I did still think
in a weird
hot.
way.
I have to admit, I did still think hot. In the same way, I reread Twilight recently. I first read Twilight in my early 20s and reread it, and I still loved Edward and still think I'm Team Edward as opposed to Jacob. But in the same way, I did think like this kind of toxic, I've been following you for your whole life and watching you while you sleep. I just thought not appealing. Whereas when I was younger, I was like, oh, he's so dedicated to her. Now I just think strange and toxic.
Creepy.
I think maybe I don't know, as an adult you have words for that kind of behaviour, don't you? Whereas when you're young, you're kind of completely impressionable and you haven't seen, apart from your parents' relationship probably, and relationships on TV, you haven't experienced it. So I think, how about you reading that as an adult? How did that read for you? Because it came from both.
Yeah, it came across, I would say it was creepy more than like I think as a teen I definitely would have been like, oh, but as an adult definitely really creepy, especially considering he'd been watching her since she was like 5, because at 5 that's when she opened the door in her grandfather's basement, I'm presuming, and that's when he saw her, and obviously the grandfather takes her place kind of thing. So,
and he'd loved her since he'd first seen her as well, like
so I was thinking
when she was more age appropriate. So yeah, and even now is she age appropriate when he's thousands of years old? I had that problem with Twilight a bit as well. Like he's kind of older than a grandfather and interested in a teenage girl. But...
No, but I think you can say the same about Labyrinth. Like when I rewatch Labyrinth now, as an adult, like some of the things, and you think actually David Bowie, well, Jareth, we just know him as David Bowie.
Yeah.
But Jareth, it does come across a little bit creepy when you consider how young I forgot her name's gone. Is it
Yeah,
Jen?
no, I can picture her. Jennifer something, isn't it?
Yeah. When you see how, picture how young she is in it, and you kind of think, it's a little bit creepy now watching it as an adult, but I still love it. I
Yeah,
still like,
I
really love
think
it.
I think you can kind of suspend some of that. I think as I'm reading, I try and sometimes push those feelings aside. Like I acknowledge that this is weird, but this was the thing that I
Yeah,
enjoyed about it when I was younger, so I'm just gonna kind of go with it, and that's what I ended up doing. A chat. Jennifer Connolly, thank you.
that's it. Thank you.
Nikki
My
Boy
mind just
Pets.
went blank.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd remember that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I did set aside some of the stuff that was grating and that didn't feel age appropriate and that didn't
Yeah.
feel, like the things we know now, 30 years on, that we didn't know then.
No,
I
definitely.
kind of acknowledge in my mind and then have to move on. Otherwise, I just won't be able to enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, Nikki has put she played Sarah. If Josh is watching this chat, he's going to absolutely kill me that I forgot that. Sorry, Josh. But yeah, I totally agree. It's one of them. I'm more forgiving if I know it's like an older book or like an older TV show or movie. I'm a little bit more like forgiving with that,
Yeah, and
just
I
because
think
it's sign of the times.
yeah, and as an author, you know that you can't change something. Like once you've written it, like I mean, I wrote some stuff in book one, and I was like, why did I do that to myself? I've got to deal with this now in book two. Like some of the people I killed off and stuff, I was like, oh, they would have been useful. Yeah, I think you do. Sometimes you have to stand by that choice as an author. That she obviously did that for a reason. Certain things, and I hope that by the end of the series, they'll become clearer.
Yeah, there is definitely. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't read Mina and the Undead. There is definitely one character I will never ever forgive Amy for killing off in
Okay,
Mina and the Undead.
there were
Oh,
there were two that I regretted. Maybe. Well,
oh,
didn't regret because you have to do that when you're writing a murder mystery. I'd like it if everybody could just be happy and alive all the time. Interestingly, to go on a slight tangent, in book two, I have changed something. So the version you read of book two is a little bit different. So some of the unaliving might be a little different than what you read.
oh, I'm excited. Woohoo! Yeah, because I think I read quite an early version, didn't I?
Yeah, Shelley read it
And
with
then
all the messy bits and the bits that didn't make sense and helped me with it. So thank you for that.
oh no, it did make sense, and it's still it's so good. Honestly,
Thank
I love it. I really want Amy to write like a really good
you.
slasher
Yeah,
book
sorry,
with
Kat, you
with.
haven't read the kind of. You wouldn't want to read that version, though. It is better
Oh.
now, I swear.
Oh no, it was still good. It was still good. Very good. But I really want Amy to write a slasher series.
And I have
Um,
ideas. I have, and in fact, I
mm,
think book two does lean more into the slasher thing
yeah, it
because I
does.
love it
Yeah.
so much.
Cameron's put I have to read Mina ASAP. Shelley has recommended it at least 400 times today.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely. Bye, Juniper Books and
Bye.
Tea. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Bye.
I've lost where I am. So, do you think that Julian, just going back to Julian just quick, do you think he was a good villain?
Yes, I do. I really
Yeah.
like it when a villain thinks that they're the hero of their story and he thinks he's rescuing Jenny from a
Mm,
humdrum life and he is so great that why would she not want his love and he would dote on her, he would give her the absolute world but at such a cost.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, but as an adult I know he's definitely the villain. I think maybe as a teenager I was a bit more like, oh, he's misunderstood and oh, he just needs some love and some care and whatever, but now I do think he's a
Mm,
definite villain. How about you? Do
yeah.
you appreciate that?
Yeah, I like a good villain. I did think he made a good villain. I liked his like dodgy riddles that didn't make much sense and things like that. But I really loved as well how even though he was the villain, he totally believed in his world and like his beliefs and things like
Yeah,
that. And I know that sounds like really strange, but he was like, this is the better choice, this is the better way. Almost a bit culty, like a cult
yeah,
leader.
yeah. And I think it was interesting as well that he is just of a different world and that he is of this mindset of this world that's very ruthless and brutal, and they're just different from what we can understand. Somebody's just asking if asking if Mina's out yet. Kat Ellis has just read an early version and Shell's read an early version, so that's why the confusion.
Yeah, sorry.
Early versions just to confuse everyone, but yeah, it's out on the 1st of September.
Yeah, so not long to wait. It's only next week.
And I actually get to see it in real bookshops, because when the first book came out, the bookshops were shut. So I'm actually doing an event on the day, which will be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And Dawn's she's reading it right now.
Oh my gosh, I hope you're enjoying it, Dawn. I'm always a bit scared when authors I really admire are reading my book. It's like, I like your books.
But yeah, so to me, like, he definitely, he was a good villain and believed in himself. And I think he did like a speech, which is about like the world. And I think he says something like, the world is cruel, and then shows like Jenny some type of newspaper. And he says, tell me that evil loses and good wins. Tell me that it's not the law of the jungle in your world. Reality has teeth and claws.
Yeah,
and I just
chilling,
thought that was that little speech he did was really impactful, because you could just relate it to real life now. And I just thought, yeah, he really believes that his world is better and would erase all of that.
And he's sort of a king in his own little part of the world, so he thinks that he's protecting her from that. And that's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was one of my favourite parts. Do you have a favourite part?
The Moor Game Shop. Whenever I think about it, that first time that she meets Julian, and it's that kind of bridge where, when she thinks back, that there were some like clues and red flags in the shop that things were strange and that things weren't quite right, and she just dismisses them. I think it's a really cleverly written scene, and that first impression of Julian is just so, I don't know, like, I remember teenage me reading it and just thinking, hang on, let me read that description again. Oh, Julian, who are you? I think there's still a little bit, obviously, of that teenager that obsessed about him. I do like that. I think there's lots of great scenes in it. I do like the ending a lot as well, but that first scene really, really got me.
Yeah. And do you think that Jenny's friends were good friends?
It's interesting, because like you said about Audrey, I did feel that there were slight moments. She was very supportive of Jenny, I think, towards the end of the book, and they all obviously really believed in her, that she was, they didn't want to leave without her, even though she'd made her decision. I think they were. I feel like Dee was the most consistent in terms of being the protector of the whole group and holding everybody together. What do you think about them? I think yes, but there were moments for all of them where they were a little bit.
Yeah, I think the end kind of made me think, do you know what? Yeah, they were good, because they were going to sacrifice themselves and not go through the door, or that's what was implied, and obviously stay in the world with Jenny. Even though Julian had said he might kill them if they did that, but they were still there when Jenny played the trick on Julian, and like kind of locked him in the basement. They were still there waiting. Like, I think they would have not gone through the door. I really feel they wouldn't.
Yeah, I got that impression as well, because as far as they were concerned, like, Jenny had made the choice and they didn't realise that I think Dee said, I knew you were going to try something, but I think that they all thought that was it, and they were kind of stuck in that world, which, that's true, isn't it? Like, that surprise.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Speedway Chicks, but who were the two guys following her? Now, are the two guys that were following her the two that pinched the board game at the end?
Yes. Yeah.
And
they play, I don't want to say too much, they play quite a memorable role in the second book. And I'll leave it at that. And when you read it, there's a particular scene that I have to talk to you about, anybody who's read it. The second book has some good horror in it, and I'll leave it there.
Oh God, I'm going to have to read it like soon. I might have to do like an extra read one month just so I can get it read. Oh yeah. And did they take the game? So yeah, they pinched the game at the end, because they were lured to it from obviously when they saw Jenny carrying it when they were chasing her.
I think I
really like that.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it, that it shows that it isn't just about Jenny, that there is this allure. And I got the impression, did Julian say something like, people don't normally make it this far through the game, as if although his fixation was Jenny, he'd done this before? I found that quite chilling as well. Like, does he just spend his time toying with people while he's waiting for Jenny?
It's just got them all like lined up from like,
Well, I don't know. I mean,
oh,
was he looking for more partners among the other people, or was he just messing with them? I don't know. But yeah, that was very Jumanji to me. That it kind of
yeah,
draws people in.
keeps going
Because
kind
I
of
think
thing.
Jumanji was a book, wasn't it? That was written. I can't remember how long ago, but
Yeah, I think so. I
I have
don't
read
know
it. It was
too.
quite strange. It's not. It's very short, and it read a little bit dated, so I don't know whether it was quite a while ago. Probably before,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Eddie's video put, have you both said what your fave nightmare is? I guess what nightmare scared you the most? Yeah, so I think Eddie's video just joined. So I said it was the moths, that scared me the most.
Yeah.
And what was yours, Amy, again?
Aliens that freeze you to
The
the table and
aliens.
then stab you with
Yeah.
needles. Yes, that one.
Ooh, yeah. And Karen's put that, yeah, Karen was showing me today, there's actually a board game company called Forbidden Games,
No one
and
buy
there's a
their
whole
games, which is really
whole
bad. I shouldn't say
website.
that.
Yeah, don't go, don't go. I clicked on the website and quickly came off it because I thought, oh no.
Not a great kind of selling point for their games, is it? That everybody would be terrified to play them.
Oh no. But the thing is, Karen did have the link. No one else has ever seen this link. So,
Oh, maybe Karen's an
Karen.
agent of the games master. Be wary.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Um, just quickly, one of my other favourite scenes, other than that whole speech, was the maze, like the mirror maze scene. I thought that was really effective because I love a mirror maze scene. I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's one in Mina too.
There is. There
Yeah,
and it's one of
and
my favorite scenes in the book actually, and I did different things. I don't know which version you read, but I tried out lots of stuff with that scene, and
oh.
Karen says she is the shadow man. Shelley, you were right. You went down. Yeah, I think it is one of those. I tried in Mina too. I really enjoyed with playing with horror tropes, and I think
Mm,
that idea of seeing yourself reflected back to you and that weird illusion it does where you can see lots of versions of yourself
yeah,
back through the mirrors.
yeah.
And I think one of my characters is claustrophobic as well, and being closed, it's mirrored like boxes in mine, being closed into a mirrored box kind of
Mm.
amplifies the fear for her a little bit as well.
Yeah, because I definitely, I think when I read that scene, I do actually think that that plays into one of my other phobias because when I was younger, this is really embarrassing. I went into like a mirror maze and I had like a full blown meltdown, like in the middle, and I just refused to leave. I literally sat down and refused to leave, but no one was coming to get me.
Oh,
Like I was in there for quite a while, and I think I'm like secretly traumatized
oh
from it.
no. Oh, sorry that I put
Um,
that in my book and brought that to the surface again.
no, but I'm fascinated though by it. When like I think I watched the TV series Cruel Summer, and I think in there it had like a mirror maze thing, and it scares me and fascinates me at the same time. Because there's another time when I don't think it was a mirror maze, but one with like clear, board, clear like plastic in front of you, so you're trying to get through. And I used went in that once and kept banging my head like constantly. It's that fear of not being able to get out. Um, but I kind of like reading characters do it or watching them, but I just don't like doing it
I think what's
myself.
quite scary, I've been in somewhere they haven't opened the way out until you've stumbled through it for a little while. Like I think
Mm,
like the York dungeons and London dungeons, they have this, it's like an illusion. So you're going around this really small space and they don't let you out until they're ready. And I think that's quite scary as well. Like
oh
what if nobody lets
God,
you out?
I'm not brave enough to go in the London dungeons.
Oh, we should
I'm.
do it. Let's do it.
Oh my
Take
God, no!
that.
Can you imagine?
Now I've got a toddler. I don't think I can do it for a little while. Although he'd probably be as brave as anything, and we would be screaming.
Oh no, I'm terrified. I'm not sure whether it's Nikki who's in the chat. I think he's just not long been to the London dungeons, but I might be wrong. But yeah, no, that terrifies me. And I know Emma's always trying to get me to do to do scary things like that. I couldn't even cope in a mirror maze. So yeah, I don't even remember how I got out of that in the end, you know. Someone must have come and got me, because obviously I'm here.
You blanked out the experience, obviously.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, Nikki's footy went last week, yeah.
Yeah, I've worked my way around a few of them. I think I've done Edinburgh, York, Berlin,
Wow.
so far. And there's one in Warwick. I don't know whether that's an official done at Warwick Castle. So yeah, I've done quite a few.
Yeah, when I've been to Warwick Castle, because that's not far from where I live, and no, I have not been in that dungeon.
It's really good, actually. Maybe next time you can stay out with the toddler and I'll go into the scary
that sounds like a good deal to me, you know. That sounds like a good deal. So did you like the ending? So obviously the ending where she tricks Julian, and then that whole climax of her running to get out, and then they're out of the game. Did you like that ending? Did you think it was a satisfying ending?
Yeah, I did. It reminded me, I think a few things sprung to mind in the 90s that did that. I remember Jasmine in Aladdin did a similar thing to Jafar, where she sort of pretends that Jafar's magic's working on her and it's not. I do quite like that as a trope. I find it quite fun because it's like the main character's got an upper hand over the villain, and I did like it. I think that the whole book was building towards Jenny being brave and having agency, and as it was very clear to tell us, she had changed by the end. And I think that was a good way of telling the reader that she emphatically had not chosen Julian at this point in her life, that she'd chosen her real life. I think it was quite a good kind of shutting the door on him, was shutting the door on that world, wasn't it? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked the ending. I thought it was good. I liked how the whole scene of trickery that she did to Julian, I kind of liked that. And then I liked the way that they got back out, and I loved the ending with the boys nicking the thing, because obviously you have that link from the beginning. And that, to me, it's quite clever writing, because that was right at the beginning of this book, and you've gone through all this journey and you still make that connection in your head that might be those boys from the beginning. So it shows how impactful the start of the book was. But what I didn't buy was Tom being this changed character at the end when he got out of the thing.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with Tom is we were told he's wonderful, he's great, he's the best boyfriend in the world, and he never shows us that. So part of me did wonder, maybe I've been too hard on Tom, and that like this is the real Tom, the caring, kind of supportive person. But yeah, like you said, it didn't, what he'd done in the book and the characteristics he'd shown, it just didn't track, did it?
No, definitely not. I was like, I don't buy it. He'll be off with Audrey again soon, even though she was all loved up again with Michael. Is it kind of, even with Audrey and Michael, it kind of was like trying to cement that she'd made the decision now that he wasn't just a bookmark and that she was going to be with him, kind of thing. So the writing was good. I did like the writing.
Definitely.
Nikki's put, not sure she made the right choice. Now she's stuck with Tom. Yeah, no, definitely. Karen's put, I feel like Julian is meant to be thousands of years old, but acts like he's 13 and just discovered girls. Impressed he didn't stamp his foot and whinge about not having Jenny as soon as he wanted her. He did kind of a little bit. He was a little bit stamping feet and just kiss me, Jenny, kiss me. That's all he wanted. And like tricking her with the rose. And
the consent stuff was a bit weird, wasn't it? Like that he was gradually taking control over more of her body and being allowed to talk. I thought that was quite weird for a book aimed at like younger teenagers.
No, definitely. And I'm really intrigued, like, obviously no spoilers for the second books, but I'm intrigued whether the granddad is actually still alive. And I'm
I can't remember, so I can talk honestly about this.
But do you think it would be like, I think that would be a good little twist.
Yeah, I would think that if you were pulled into that world, that you wouldn't necessarily live that long because of the psychological impact that it would have on you. But it's possible. I don't think he got killed instantly when he was taken into it. I think that kind of had their way with him. That was. So yeah.
So like maybe played some of the games on him and.
Yeah, I don't know whether he is going to come into it or whether it's just a showing like of what can happen to you if you play around with these forces. I liked that part. I thought that was a good twist. I like the fact that it was kind of foreshadowed all the way through the book as well, that it mentioned Jenny
Yeah.
knew that this scary thing had happened but couldn't remember what it was. So I thought that was clever as well.
Yeah. Raj has just put, I feel like a part of Jenny did look at Tom differently at the end. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe she wasn't going to take no more rubbish off
no,
him. She can wear her hair down and wear trousers instead of long skirts.
I know.
Maybe. So final question then. So overall, do you think that the book's dated well? Did you enjoy rereading it?
I really enjoyed rereading it so much that I did, like I said, I started reading the second book straight away and then thought, actually, I'm
Yeah.
going to stop because I'm going to get confused when I talk to you about what had actually happened in book 1 and 2. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. And I think that of all the point horrors I've read, it's probably among the top few of how it's aged. Like I said, there were things about the descriptions that I think in a future edit, if I was the editor, I would just take them out.
Yeah.
And I'd update a few things. But I think certain stuff that felt dated, like Jenny's attitude towards Tom, actually, even though it feels not very modern, I would have kept that in because I think it was fitting with the characters. How about you? Do you think, compared to all the point horrors you've read, do you think it has aged?
Yeah. I think compared to other point horrors, although I did find it weird, like overall in the end I did end up liking it. I was just that section in the middle, I just couldn't, I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna like it. But yeah, I think it's dated well, and I really, really think that it will come out well on the screen.
Yeah.
So I really do hope that they do that. And it's really intrigued me to read the rest. And to be honest, I've watched some of Vampire Diaries, but I'm intrigued now to read the books. Have you read any of the Vampire Diary
Yeah,
books?
quite a
Or
few a long time ago. But Elena
yeah.
is blonde and blue-eyed, and she does fixate on Elena's blue eyes. Funnily enough, she has eyes the colour of lapis lazuli, and she will tell you that
Oh.
on every other page. I think the structure of the brothers, there being like a bad brother and a good brother,
Yeah.
is kind of similar. But yeah, I think quite a lot of things are different in it. I would do one or the other. I'd watch the TV show and then read the books, or I'd read the books and then watch the TV show. I wouldn't try and do it together because she'll get really confused. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think the writing was really good,
yeah,
especially definitely compared to other point horrors. And as I say, definitely, obviously we know with point horror that a lot of them were like in boxes in the UK, and they just got rebranded with the point horror logo, which Anne Finnis kindly told me about. So Anne Finnis is one of the people responsible for publishing point horror. So yeah, so obviously definitely wasn't written for the point horror brand, and I think you can tell that just by how good it is. And it has its moments.
yeah.
But
Kissing your
overall,
cousin
I really
kind
liked
of
it. Yeah,
moments, yeah.
kissing your cousin, aliens, didn't expect that in a point horror. Elves, definitely didn't expect that in a point horror. But then on the other side, it had some good horror, like the plants
Yeah.
ripping through the skin. And the bees scene as well with Jenny, and the bees like just covering her and coming out of her. She won't open her mouth in case they go inside her mouth. That was like terrifying. So yeah, overall, I think it was really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought that this might be a different conversation at one point. I was like, oh, Shell's
I
not.
know. Poor Amy. I was like, Amy, I'm not sure I like it. Karen's, but are you saying my favourite point horror is not actually a point horror? I think so. Don't quote me on that.
See,
But
my instinct, I could be wrong, but I think my earlier editions might have said point on them and not point.
yeah,
I'd have to
yeah,
that, but I think my 90s one said point, which was
yeah.
kind of often the quite general branding. There was point, romance, crime, and horror. And I think point were like the ones, like you said, it's just a mash of everything.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it was like roughly under the same family, but not point horror, possibly.
It was so the point. I think the point came first, and then obviously UK publishers kind of made this logo. They actually created this point horror logo. UK Scholastic. So, but it's funny now how a lot of people do say, like even for point books, they say point horror. So it's amazing how this logo kind of took off, even though it was like a UK
Yeah.
thing. And I kind of think that's amazing, and it really fascinates me, like how a lot of the Americans say point horror, where that was a UK kind of thing. And
Yeah, Karen said her
just
94 copy says point horror. I wonder if I had a US one or something. I do remember, I
yeah,
mean, I could be wrong. It could just be me misremembering 20 years on.
yeah. I mean,
I've got this edition as well. I'll just show you.
I was gonna say that cover is
Does this say
absolutely
point horror? Let me look. Oh, this just says
amazing.
the Forbidden Game. This doesn't say point horror.
Yeah. What does it say in the front? What year that's from? Sorry, we've gone off topic,
no,
everyone.
It's fine. But I was prepared.
See, mine says published in UK 1995, copyright 1994.
Interestingly, I can't actually see the copyright bit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'll look into. Oh, in fact, I found it. 94. Yeah.
Ah. See, I think it was rebranded with the Point Horror logo on.
Possibly.
I'll have to see if I can get hold of Anne, and I'll ask and see if she remembers. But obviously, it was many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'll see if I can find out.
Yeah, this is a bind up of all 3 books.
It's amazing, that cover.
I don't know where I got it from. I think it might have been something random, like Barnes and Noble, like years ago. Online.
I want to know, like, who that figure is there, like in the top corner with the top hat and like the little creepy smile, like the Joker.
I can't remember.
Oh,
but yeah, we'll maybe find out. I'll let you know when I read the second book.
Yeah. A few people are saying so Melina's put the bind up doesn't mention point horror either. So I'll see if I can find out. I can ask and see. But just quick overdue notice, but the B part reminded me of The Crush from the 90s. I've not. Is that a film? I've not seen that. Interesting. And April 80s, 90s book arts put the descriptions are amazing, very well written.
Yeah.
Karen's put she loved the reread, still holds up for legit fun reading, proper spooky stuff with labyrinth hallways and creepy lands behind room doors. And yeah, I think that's UK. Oh, Dawn's put she remembers The Crush. Oh, movie. Oh, okay. Oh, I'll go and terrify myself with that then.
There might be an actress that I like in that. Somebody like Alicia Silverstone, maybe. It's ringing up.
Okay.
Or someone.
I'll go and check that out.
Yeah, as well now.
Oh, well, Amy, thank you. Thanks for answering all my questions and chatting about this book. I'm so glad. Like, I know you suggested reading The Forbidden Game, and a few other people, I think Speedway Chick and Karen, had suggested that we do it for Point Horror Book Club as well. But I'm so glad, and I'm glad that it makes an appearance in Mina and the Slayers.
And thank you so much for having me. I've wanted to talk to you about this one like forever, so it was nice to be all together. We did kind of a little buddy read. We didn't want to talk too much so that we would.
Yeah, we tried to like.
To say.
Yeah, we tried to like. It was mainly me going, Amy, this is weird.
Yeah,
like most of the time. But yeah, so no, it was really good. But do check out if you haven't read Mina and the Undead. Honestly, I know I'm biased, but I'm not, because it's really, really good.
Thank you.
So honestly, please check Mina and the Undead out, and then get Mina and the Slayers, which is out on the 1st of September. Yeah. So is that Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
It's Thursday. Yay! But yeah, thank you, Amy, and thanks to everyone who joined in and for all the fab comments. And we'll be back again next month.
Yeah,
I think we're doing a Nightmare Hall next month.
Oh, yay. Cool. I'll be back watching then, not
thanks, Amy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.